Thank you very much, Sai, for this highly relevant presentation. And I'm happy to welcome our next speaker, Sequoya Cross. Sequoia has been involved in numerous renewable energy companies since 2004. Currently, she's the Director of Global Sales and Business Development for SimpliPhi Power. Today, she will tell us why the future of energy storage is distributed. Welcome, Sequoia.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me today. I'm very excited to be presenting at Solar and Storage DigiCon this year. And as I was introduced, my name is Sequoya Cross. I am the Director of Global Sales and Business Development for SimpliPhi Power. And today I'll be talking about how the future of energy storage is distributed. And I'm trying to get there we go. So a little bit about SimpliPhi Power and what we do. SimpliPhi Power is a mission-driven manufacturer of energy storage solutions for customers in the developed and developing world. The company was founded in 2010 as Optimized Energy Storage in Ojai, California, and has its roots in the film and broadcast industry. We leveraged a decade of experience to scale our proprietary technologies and manufacturing into the residential and commercial sector for key global markets for on and off grid applications. Since our beginnings, we have only utilized LFP battery chemistry, as we believe, based on our core values as a renewable company, that it does not make sense to store clean energy in toxic batteries that contain cobalt and essentially put customers at risk. As the company continued to grow and scale, we had the opportunity to test the efficacy of our technology with the military, going through rigorous testing at Aberdeen Proving Grounds. OES introduced its first residential battery and Jenny mobile solutions for emergency response and lead acid diesel replacement in forward operating bases in some of the most austere environments in Iraq and Afghanistan, all with a 0% failure rate. In 2013 through 2014, we began creating larger, fully integrated units that provided a more robust and longer duration backup power and expanded our military and emergency response solutions. Around this time, the first 5 battery models became available to the market for scaling on and off-grid systems. In 2015, we relaunched as SimpliPhi Power and continued our testing of battery solutions and our non-toxic battery chemistry with the military. We also introduced our fully integrated turnkey pre-assembled and pre-programmed access units for residential and small commercial applications, a product that continues to provide benefit in utility planned and unplanned outages in California and across the US, providing distributed storage assets to customers. Most recently, SimpliPhi has continued to build on our platform of scalability, providing high voltage solutions to larger commercial sites and microgrids, improving resiliency for customers experiencing outages caused by the effects of climate change. With the latest addition to our product line, the Amplify battery module, we continue to blur the line between utilities and customers with closed loop communications that can optimize battery storage for demand response programs and provide functionality for DERs and DERMs. SimpliPhi's mission to create a safe, reliable, and affordable power has resulted in a robust product line that targets all aspects of storage value chain. By leveraging a safe, non-toxic, and non-hazardous cobalt-free chemistry, we eliminate the risk of thermal runaway with fire propagation. Our products have endured more lab and field testing than any other battery product on the market today, carrying UL certifications, UN DOT certifications, and special permission by the FAA to airship globally. Our over a decade of experience and growth, with over 100 megawatt hours of installed systems in over 40 countries, demonstrates that social impact and profitability can coexist. Our simple solutions integrate and optimize any generation source, whether it's solar, wind, generators, or micro hydro applications, both in off-grid and on-grid systems. By storing energy for critical backup power, customers can maximize resilience and energy security while saving on utility bills with time of use, peak shaving, and demand charge management. SimpliPhi works alongside a growing network of distributors around the world with project developers and large-scale system owners, which enables us to have a breadth of understanding about how our product is deployed and the various applications that it can be utilized in. So the problem that we are facing today is limited access to safe, reliable, affordable, and sustainable power. Escalating energy costs throughout the world are creating a dynamic that makes access to affordable power harder and harder to obtain. In the US, electricity prices have risen 15% in the last 10 years, and these increases are expected to continue. Utilities across the nation have been instituting more complex time of use rates and surge pricing during key points of the day, typically in the evening hours when solar is not producing. By incorporating battery storage, it can optimize solar production for utilities and help realize more levelized costs for consumers. In Europe, they expect even higher increases in prices over the next 10 to 15 years of 30% as they phase out coal and nuclear plants. As we look further into edge-of-grid communities and rural areas that use diesel-generated power, they can see prices as high as 50 cents to $1 per kilowatt hour. Failing infrastructure is also an element that we see playing out daily in the fire-ravaged West, as well as in the Northeast and Gulf states. 2010 through 2019 marked the costliest decade on record, with economic damage from severe weather reaching $2.98 trillion globally. Since 2003, the average annual number of weather-related power outages doubled, resulting in billions of financial losses in the US. The US electrical grid is aging, with 70% of transmission lines and transformers that are 25 years or older. In 2018, the devastating Camp Fire, which decimated the town of Paradise and resulted in the deaths of over 80 people, was caused by a severe windstorm and unmanaged power lines that were over 100 years old. The delta in cost to upgrade associated with the current billing to ratepayers means that upgrades are prioritized as failures happen, and you couple that with repair costs due to climate-related events, we're in a losing proposition of moving fast enough to fix everything before it ages out. We start to see that all of these issues are interrelated. Fossil fuel powered plants contributing to greenhouse gas emissions, which result in climate change that can have devastating effects that result in widespread droughts, hurricanes, fires, all culminating in a perfect storm of conditions to only propel and accelerate the issues that our grid infrastructure is facing. Already in the US, over 150 cities, 13 states, and 7 utilities have 100% clean energy goals, which is great. However, they don't have a clear path to achieve them. Centralized wind farms and solar plants do not address the issues of transmission lines that still need to be maintained and can fail in severe weather events, leaving thousands without power. And with the economic growth and rising population and electrification of major industries, renewables alone without storage will not keep up with this demand. So going into talking a little bit about managed and unmanaged outages. Over the last 5 years, the ASCE reported that there were 638 transmission-related outages in the US. Half of those were caused by severe weather. The other 46% were attributed to transmission disruptions and interruptions. In 2019 alone, over 800,000 customers were affected by California public safety power outages, a methodology that was deployed to reduce power line-related fires and high wind events. Without a plan for backup power that was distributed within the state, homeowners and businesses were shouldered with the burden and costs of damaged electronics, spoiled foods, and loss of work productivity. The costs associated with this one act resulted in billions of dollars of lost revenue for the state. Climate change and increased fires within the US caused significant increases in these power interruptions, all because the transmission lines were still part of the equation to deliver this power to customers. Most of these outages averaged 7.8 hours, but many lasted several days and with minimal notice to prepare. By 2019, the ASCE estimates the cost of residential sector will reach $2 billion, with the commercial and industrial sector shouldering the cost of $102 billion. These increased cost of outages over the next 2 decades will result in increased costs to businesses that will make U.S. manufactured products less competitive in the global market and force many U.S. households and businesses to pay additional $142 billion in foreign imports to make up the difference. In just the last 2 months alone, weather-related outages throughout the U.S., which caused transmission line failures, have left millions of customers in the dark. In Chicago, Illinois, the derecho resulted in 260,000 customers without power for days, and Hurricane Isaias left 6.4 million customers in New Jersey without power. This month, we are already seeing crippling outages caused by windstorms in Utah and Hurricane Laura. Distributed storage where it is needed is a viable and cost-effective solution, affording resilience to customers to get through outages as infrastructure repairs are made. As more and more severe weather events, from heat waves to increased demand on the grid in key areas to climatic events that cause power line disruptions, being able to dispatch reserves of stored power to communities becomes even more paramount. So distributed storage and putting power where it's needed. Over the last 6 years, the demand for resiliency is driving growth for distributed energy storage systems. The economics are clear. Adding energy storage near the load or on distribution feeders reduces T&D upgrade requirements. It also decreases the reliance on long transmission lines to customers and can help optimize the grid for peak demand, eliminating the duck curve that has so long plagued utilities as solar deployments grew. Energy storage and microgrids are safe when using non-toxic chemistries such as LFP that do not have the dangers of thermal runaway. They are a cost-effective alternative to importing power over long distances, and especially in rural communities that are most affected by severe storms and transmission maintenance-related failures. One planned outage, as I mentioned before, during California's PSPS event cost over 2 million customers $2 billion in lost economic activity. Being able to activate strategic storage assets within the region would have enabled customers to continue to operate within these zones of activity. Arizona, California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York have already set energy storage targets, driving policy in a direction to better manage these planned and unplanned outages. Other states continue to see the value in this proposition and are rolling out similar policy changes. The California Public Utilities Commission has approved nearly $1 billion in funding for the SWEPCO program, of which almost 100% is already allocated to projects and many are waitlisted, proving that distributed storage is a viable solution and can be deployed hand in hand with utilities, eliminating the either-or proposition of the past. As climate change continues to bring more extreme weather and power outages, players across the entire value chain are looking for non-wires alternatives and distributed energy resources to increase resilience. States that are already adopting 100% clean energy targets by requiring distributed energy storage systems to maintain grid reliability will have a leg up as the future and dynamics of grid infrastructure change. From resilient communities to EV charging infrastructure, renewables and distributed storage creates access to safe, reliable, affordable, and sustainable power. Multi-unit dwellings, cities and workplaces, fleet management, and entire communal and virtual power plants can be created by aggregating resources and shifting demand for storage solutions to where it is needed. The grid infrastructure of the future becomes a mesh of variable assets that can be utilized and deployed where power is needed, eliminating the need for miles of power lines and the costs associated with maintaining it. The ability to scale energy storage systems at every stage of this value chain creates a robust deployment of assets for both customers and utility use. Beyond resilience, battery storage can be utilized when the grid is active. reducing demand charges that are based on a customer's peak usage during predetermined times and capping that usage by supplementing energy storage. This can significantly reduce utility demand charges. Time of use rates, which have been typically applied in the evening hours, can be mitigated by using energy storage as a supplement during those times, allowing for full realization of solar production during the day and shifting it to evening hours when those rates climb. This also has the added benefit of stabilizing PV power swings at the site that are caused by cloud effect and fluctuations in voltage and frequency. So going into the recent adoption of FERC 2222 and its positive effect on distributed energy projects. The recent approval of FERC 2222 paves the way for aggregated distributed energy resources, creating a competitive market alongside traditional power plants and grid resources. The ruling will allow the bundling of front-of-the-meter and behind-the-meter resources, whether they include energy storage, on-site renewables, energy efficiency initiatives, distributed and backup generators, EVs, and other microgrid energy systems. The hope is that by removing the regulatory barriers to aggregation of distributed resources and creating a more effective way to develop virtual power plants and demand response programs, the deployment of these solutions will only increase, resulting in a more robust energy infrastructure. So SimpliPhi has already been working towards more collaborative effort between renewables and utilities by deploying systems and methods for comprehensive virtual power plant and microgrid solutions. We had the pleasure of working with Pepco on the Exelon Microgrid and Maycroft project at the Affordable Housing Resiliency Center in Washington, D.C. This was one of the first centers that was able to provide power for 3 consecutive days during a grid outage. It included a 70.2 kilowatt rooftop solar array at one location with 56 kilowatt hours of 5 batteries that could seamlessly disconnect from the grid to provide backup power. This emergency hub for the community saves customers an additional $40 to $50 per month through solar credits that are realized across the site. By creating Distributed Energy Resource Project with SWEPCO and AEP, SimpliPhi was able to transform city-scale battery systems into effective virtual power plant for residents. They were able to achieve uninterrupted power for critical loads in the event of grid failures or shutdown in strategic distributed locations within the community. The systems were able to also optimize usage by avoiding peak demand charges and time of use rates when the grid was active, and have the ability to participate in demand response programs, which are working to further incentivize storage system owners to allow the utility to use storage during set periods of the year. By controlling the distributed battery resources from a single location, they are able to provide grid services such as voltage control, frequency regulation, and load shifting. Distributed storage is not only effective in urban areas. By deploying solar and storage units to edge-of-grid communities in New Zealand, SimpliPhi was able to bring reliable power to remote PowerCo companies. These systems serve to supplement or as an alternative to electricity supply from the utility, where upgrading the network and improving the transmission and distribution lines wasn't cost effective. By containerizing solutions and transporting them to locations, we were able to provide power where it was needed, making these solutions ideal for rural areas that are hardest hit by outages caused by long transmission lines, and possibly reducing the need for repairing lines that have aged out and are difficult to access. By leveraging renewables and decoupling supply and demand for on and off-grid use, we can accelerate the energy transition while reducing atmospheric CO2 and greenhouse gases, which are drivers behind climate change. We can reimagine the power grid, supporting new and emerging energy markets and technologies that blur the line between in front of and behind the meter assets, aligning the interests of utilities and customers. By working together, we can create a more resilient power infrastructure using distributed customer-sided assets along the entire along the entire distribution grid for individuals, businesses, and whole communities. All of this can deliver economic value by eliminating the economic losses due to power outages and reducing daily energy costs through dynamic charge management, peak shaving, and time of use charges. To me, the future of energy storage is distributed, and that future looks pretty bright. So thank you for your time today. I want to invite anyone who has any additional questions to chat with me after the presentation in the auditorium and to visit our booth in the expo hall. You can also get a hold of me directly. You can email me any questions you might have at SimpliPhi Power. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity and to be able to present today.
Thank you, Sequoia, for this great presentation. Thank you very much. It was very interesting.